So this week we had to read chapter 12, which was about divorce. And it went over the history of divorce. It had three eras. The era of restricted divorce, which is really heavy on divorce laws, and you could only really get annulments if they were granted by um, people high up in the government. And they weren't ever really granted towards women. And then there was the era of divorce tolerance, where it became more tolerated to get divorced if you were having issues in your marriage, like your husband was an alcoholic or if he was beating you, then women were more commonly granted divorces, but it was still a little bit frowned upon. And then the last era is the era of unrestricted divorce, and that's an era that we're currently living in that has a lot of slack when it comes to divorce, and they talk about no fault divorce laws, which means that you can just get a divorce based on irreconcilable differences or because you're just not getting along, you're not happy in the relationship, and that's a reflection of cultural changes towards a marriage that you have to feel self-fulfilled in and happy in order to have a successful marriage, whereas that wasn't always the thinking behind marriage. It was more so a sort of an economic arrangement between men in the earlier years. Um, let's see. What I found most interesting about this chapter was the focus on changes towards a more self-fulfilling marriage, a marriage that has to necessarily make you feel like you're loved and appreciated. And I thought that was an interesting. It's just what you always think of when you think of as marriage, and it's weird to think of marriage as some sort of like arrangement that like your parents would do for you, or in order to like make sure that your money is in the right place or something. So it's just kind of an odd thing to think about, and I don't know. I just thought it was worth reflecting on in this chapter.